here's the deal. New injectors, new map sensor, new TPS, new plugs. Coil packs are still the same. I'm debating on changing that as well. Don't know if that will change anything because this issue happened when I got gas from Quickstar. Now, as you guys can tell by the snap, we drained the fuel, and now we have Come and Go E85. I'm about to start it up. We're gonna check the AFR, see what it's looking like, and then I'm gonna just roll it in the air since it's still in the air right now, and see what the hell is going on. All right, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm gonna try to replicate the issue. But look, yeah, that's the best way to replicate it, I guess. So like a partial throttle, I can't do half throttle. AFR is having a hard time burning the fuel, so I'm gonna assume that I'm probably gonna need plugs again, even though I just put new plugs inside the car. It is what it is, but I don't know. We're going fishing. C8 just, going through gravel. Alright guys, so I'm currently working on the Civic Coupe right now, and gonna try this out and investigate and diag. Right now we have the hood open, car still jacked up because I'm too lazy to take out the jack stand, so just lift it up for now. But first thing we did was take out the fuel regulator, and we're gonna inspect that. It's weird that there's fuel getting sent from the back through the fuel rail to up here to the regulator, right? But it's not returning it back to the tank. So it'll go through the system, but it's not returning back to the tank, because fuel should be coming out of that regulator from the side and from the bottom. Or that's what I'm assuming. I'm not too knowledgeable about fuel setups, but like, you got a fuel setup going in, right? Going through the fuel rail, and that's supposed to return to the regulator, and then that's supposed to go back into the tank, right? But damn, this wasp. But let me move away from this wasp real quick. It also is fucking hot. But yeah, so fuel is coming from the tank going up, it'll go through the system, and then it'll go through the regulator, and then it'll come back down and return to the tank. But when I took out the AN lines, it's going into the regulator, like obviously because there's fuel there, but I don't see any fuel getting sent back to the tank when I took off the lines, unless it doesn't do that. I don't know. I think it's just weird that I didn't see fuel coming out of that, coming for the return line, I guess. But yeah, I think that's kind of weird. But right now I have the regulator over here, about to open it up, check the diaphragm and stuff, and check if anything is messed up inside of it. If it is messed up, and then I'll just order the parts for the internal parts and replace it, and go from there. And then we'll try that stuff with the regulator, put that on, and it should solve our problem. Abner told me about this idea. He also made a YouTube video about it as well. Something was going on with the regulator, and they were able to tune the fuel tables. Even if they set the fuel to 0, it would just keep dumping fuel. So I'm a roughly guess it's kind of the same thing that I'm dealing with as well. The car's running super rich. It's not regulating itself in fuel. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at this real quick. And here is the regulator. Like I said, not that much fuel came up from the bottom, and that's the return line, and this is going through the fuel rail going to this. It should return, but for some reason it's not returning, or it's supposed to be dry, but I don't know. It's weird because this bottom port is dry and I expect it to be wet like this side, but it's not. So I'm gonna find the Allen key and get this off, and I'll show you guys what the inside is looking like. All right, chat, I think we found a problem. It's just like what Abner was saying. Check your fuel pressure regulators, because this should not be corroded. This is super beat up. This is supposed to have like a ball in it, and it's all like fucked up looking. This is stuck. Look, this should be in 2 pieces, but it's completely stuck there. There's that. So yeah, definitely looks like my regulator is not working. I'm assuming that since this is stuck, because this was spring up and down, and it's so corroded and beat up looking from the E85 that's been sitting in it, it's not opening and closing this. Okay, I can see through that. I was wondering what was going on. So yeah, looks like I need this whole new set. We're just gonna replace all this. We're gonna clean this up a bit, and then go on from there. I'll look up the parts on what I need. Grab me a rag, clean this up, and start from there. But yeah, chat, your fuel pressure regulator should not look like this. This is bad. This is really bad. This is what happened with E85. Wow.
So to understand a little more what exactly the fuel pressure regulator does is being able to change the pressure of the fuel with the tune, I guess, is more for the tuner to be able to.
Yes, this allows the end user or the tuner to be able to control the fuel pressure. So for cars that are high horsepower by force induction or nitrous, they're able, when they're going through the RPM range, higher the RPM range, if it's not able to achieve that fuel pressure that they want to deliver more fuel, they can adjust this. So this regulator is a 1-to-1 ratio. So this acts like very similar to like a wastegate. Mm-hmm. So when the pressure is, when fluid is pushed through and the pressure is achieved, then the spring is going to allow it to open. It's going to lift up, and then it's going to dump. There's a ball valve underneath here, and mm-hmm. It's going to dump fuel for the return.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a simple thing.
Nice.
Looks complex when it's all sealed.
Yeah.
That's why we like taking things apart. We just got to make sure we can put it back.
So how exactly does a fuel pressure regulator work? An FBR has 2 individual chambers that are separated by a diaphragm. Attached to the diaphragm is a valve, and as the valve moves down, it covers the fuel return hole, preventing fuel from returning to the tank. As the valve lifts up, it exposes the fuel return hole, allowing fuel to return. In the top chamber, there's a finely calibrated spring that pushes down on the valve. As the fuel pump supplies fuel to the fuel rail, pressure builds in the bottom chamber, pushing up on the diaphragm against the spring. The lifting valve exposes the fuel return hole, allowing fuel out of the regulator and back to the tank. The opposing forces of fuel pressure on the bottom of the diaphragm and spring pressure on the top of the diaphragm continuously moves the valve to maintain a constant fuel pressure in the rail.
Alright chat, so I'm currently in my room. I have the fuel pressure regulator right here. So I've been looking online, and I'm trying to find all these parts to replace, because at this point I should just replace the whole thing. The spring, this washer top part, which looks like this, and it sits like this, and then this as well, because it's all corroded. I might as well replace it. Well, I've been looking online, and the only kit that they sell for service for these are the diaphragm, which is this part. I need this whole thing, unless I could clean this up, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna send an email out to Aeromotive and see if I could get these 2 parts and this as well, like as one kit, because I need all this to be replaced. The regulator itself right here is pretty clean. I just gotta get some brake cleaner, clean it out, and that should be good. A little bit of brake cleaner in here as well. But besides that, yeah, they don't really sell a whole kit of this. They only sell the diaphragm part. I need the spring and this washer piece, but they don't sell it online. I haven't found any place that does, but I'm gonna continue researching and figure it out. But all right guys, so it's the next day. We let this sit in basically it was sitting in vinegar for about almost 24 hours. It's been in there for a really long time. Put it in there yesterday, and this is how it looks like today. As you can tell, all the corrosiveness is all gone. Same thing on the washer. We also sprayed some lubricant on it so that it doesn't get to that point again. But as far as I can tell, and watching videos on how these regulators work. Once it achieves the fuel pressure and the tune achieves whatever it needs it to achieve, the point of this fuel pressure regulator is to open and close to basically dump out the excess fuel back to the tank. And if you guys were watching in the beginning of the video, or a couple minutes in the video, I was saying when I was taking out these lines that this slide right here was wet, of course, and there's fuel because fuel is going into the regulator, right? But the bottom of the return line was super dry. Like it looked like the fuel never was dumped back into the tank. So I think it's safe to say that my fuel pressure regulator wasn't doing its job regulating. And I think the most common problem is definitely the diaphragm. I think this is so seized up in here, because if you push this fold back, you can see like a bunch of material and the corrosive rust like around it. So I'm pretty sure the fuel pressure was just having a hard time opening and closing the diaphragm, and that is the issue why the car keeps dying when I add more fuel, because it's just dumping way too much fuel and not enough fuel is getting dumped back to the tank. But like I said, leave a comment below if you guys have ever messed with this, that once you take off the AN lines from the feed and from the return, you should see fuel come from both ends of that. For some reason, my car, the return line was just completely dry. I didn't see any fuel coming out of there, and I started up the car a few times, so fuel should be returning back. I mean, regardless of how long it's been sitting, if there's fuel in the system, this fuel should be coming out of there. But I'm gonna assume that this was stuck and not doing its job. It basically just kept it sealed, and it was basically like this, flat and not like moving up and down. Yeah, it was just dumping a lot of fuel, and it was having a hard time burning it. So, also to let you guys know, I did research on this. I believe you could buy a replacement spring. It's a universal one. I'm not exactly if it's the same or not. It looks the same on the pictures, but as far as I can tell, if you're trying to get this washer, it's pretty much impossible to find. To get a replacement of this. That's why it looks like whoever had this washer re-welded it. You can see how like the ball's a little bit bigger. You can see the back indent has been kind of like filled as well. I feel like at some point this bolt that sits on top of it like this was pushing down on it so much that it probably made a hole or something's going on in here. So they kind of made it more sturdy and added a little bit more weld to it. That's why this washer looks kind of weird. It looks, yeah, like I said, they just probably welded it a little more material on it, and so when it sits like that, it won't have an issue compressing the spring. So I'm not gonna replace the spring. I'm gonna just replace the diaphragm, because like I said, this cleans up pretty good. We just toss it in vinegar for almost 24 hours and it cleaned everything up. Got some lubricant spray on it right now. My hands is fucking oily from touching it, but we just gotta wait until the diaphragm comes in, and then we're gonna toss the diaphragm back on and then go from there. But if you guys are having issues with your car with just basically running rich, and if you are tuning on the ECU side and it's not doing anything, definitely check your fuel pressure regulator, see if it's all in working order, and also just change out the diaphragm, because it seems like it's a pretty common issue that is not really talked about much, especially if you change plugs and new sensors and nothing is popping up on the cell, definitely check your mechanical parts, because you know they could be failing as well. So yeah, that'll be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I was planning on uploading this on Friday. It is currently Sunday, and this video will be up on Sunday. That means I gotta film today and get a video going for tomorrow. Like I said, I'm trying to do 3-day or upload at least 3 times a week, and so tomorrow's upload is gonna be a lot different from today. But I hope you guys enjoy that content as well. But yeah, this is what we are currently at with the Civic Coupe after figuring out what the hell is going on with everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.